Well, today is the last day before the elections, and you need to check out where the markets are positioned. I have stripped down the technicals so you could look at the moving averages to see some of the similarities that we have. Now, mind you, we also have the NVDA inclusion into the Dow Jones coming up on November the 8th to pay attention to. That's going to affect a little bit of what we see. You can also see some of the nervousness come in with TMF. So when I say nervousness, I mean nervousness in the securities market, that the bond market is actually seeming to benefit a little bit off its recent positioning. So let's check this out, and you can see some of the we'll say the fear, uncertainty, doubt of the election. We'll say the uncertainty is the big part of this for what exactly could come next. So first, we'll kick things off with the SPY. In blue up top, you see the 20-period moving average, and I said that was critical to hold on to for support. We lost it, and we actually came down to the 50 simple moving average back on Thursday of last week. Happy Halloween, and then we still find ourselves right between those two moving averages. Following the election, if we keep that 50, we could absolutely rip off that 50-day. We got to watch for that. If we break down below it, that's something that could be a bearish sign. Now, mind you, it's all about the retest after that. Speaking of retest, if we retest the 20 and get rejected, that could also be a bearish sign. We could watch that happen. The daily RSI has pushed down into bearish territory as well. But like I said, I think a lot of the uncertainty seeing, a lot of the downward pressure that we're seeing recently has a lot to do with the election that is coming up. Some of that could be the labor report that we've seen, even though when we look at the CME Fed Watch tool, we can still see that for the Fed meeting coming up on Thursday, with that conclusion of that meeting, I should say, most likely there's a 25 basis point cut coming up for their decision. If we get 50, that can be rather alarmist. So while that could be good for bonds, it can be downward pressure for the markets. There's a lot up in the air right now, not only about the election, but with the Fed meeting coming up as well. This downward pressure is to be expected, and I think that 50 period is going to be very telling for us for SPY. If we go over to the Qs, you're going to see similar positioning on here as well. Now, for some reason, I have a different color moving average. I'm going to have to fix that, but this is the 20 period here as well. You can see that we lost it as support. Going back to Thursday of last week, again, Friday, sticking right in between the two of them, kind of putting us in an area of big indecision for this week. So we'll see what gets decided. If we blast up above here, it could be highly bullish for us. If we blast off down below here instead, that could be a bearish thing to watch out for. And so I have my long positions I haven't touched, as those are going to be continuing on as investments, but I do have some options out there to sort of hedge in either direction for these markets. I should say hedge against downfalls in these markets. So that is something used a little bit to protect my downside. Moving over here to IWM, once again, between the 20 and the 50. Now, mind you, IWM lost the 50 for a little bit, recovered it, closed above it. So far, still as support for the 50 period, the 20 period acting as resistance more recently. So we'll see what happens with the Russell 2000 stocks if we start to see this push down lower. Now, mind you, if we see some softness in the APR, or I should say with the bond rates that are out there, which means that there's further buying for those bonds. If we see that pullback or that drop in interest rates, that's something that could be a very good thing for what we see happening with the Russell 2000 stocks. Now, mind you, we still have to avoid recessionary looks of things, or a recession itself, in order to see that strength come out. There is something very interesting to see. Hi, baby. That's my 16-month-old daughter. She gets very excited to see me. I'm excited to see her too. There we go. Look at this. I don't know that we get a cup and handle, but right now, this is looking a lot like a cup on the Russell 2000 stocks on the monthly chart. If this is something that trails off for us and falls down to what we have for the 50 and the 20 simple moving averages on a monthly basis, that could be an absolute rocket ship, pushing us to all-time highs for those Russell 2000 stocks. So if we do see it fall and start to taper down this way, that sets up for that next big opportunity. Although right now, we see a lot of buying pressure down here at the moment, giving a lot of support to what we see. But remember, this is all Goldilocks type scenario pressure that we see here. So if that Goldilocks scenario has holes punched in it, let's say at the Fed meeting, or what we see through further economic reports, further labor market loosening, those are things that could really derail this thing, and then we lose that buying pressure and we can push down to these support levels. Possibly, potentially. We're going to have to watch for that. If not, we can put in those all-time highs into IWM. Moving over to what we have for NVIDIA. So this one, for NVIDIA, when we look at the moving averages, we were down below the 20-period moving average on Thursday. Friday, we got rejected off of it, but yet we're up above that moving average today, and that's the inclusion that I'm talking about for the Dow, and that's one for that with funds that would track the Dow would have to then also buy NVIDIA into those Dow tracking funds. So we see some of that excitement and some of that upward pressure on NVIDIA stock. If AI demand holds out, and there's a lot of evidence that says that it could most definitely hold out and continue strong through 2025, we really want to start to hear about what 2026 looks like, if there is going to be continue to be growing demand for AI infrastructure, especially through NVIDIA. That's something that could also lead to a rocket ship type scenario, pushing us to all-time highs. 152 is my low end for this for the next 12 months. Actually, I should say, I said 12 to 18 months. That backs it up to 9 to 15 months because we're about a full quarter later from when I put that out from their last earnings. So we're going to be watchful for that, for what exactly could happen for NVIDIA. And if you guys want to see my NVIDIA stock price prediction, NVIDIA earnings projection, that's going to be coming out very soon. Make sure that you subscribe so that you don't miss it when it drops. Their earnings are on November the 20th, which is about 16 days. So 2 weeks and 2 days away from where we're at right now in the after hours. So you could see that come out. So for NVIDIA right now, good news with that inclusion, bad news for Intel being dropped from the Dow. And Intel is one that if they can turn things around is going to be such an incredible opportunity. Right now I'm watching, trying to keep a pulse on the tech. The tech channels actually on YouTube are pretty good, especially if you find the high profile ones. You can watch those to hear what they say about NVIDIA, AMD, Intel. And Intel right now, they still don't have a lot of praise to sing for it. They still talk as though Intel is still stumbling. So we're going to have to watch and see what happens there. If we hear strongly upbeat things, a lot of excitement coming from the people in the tech area who track Intel the closest, that could be a very big upside for them. So for NVIDIA, for right now, looking pretty good. Want to keep above that 20-period moving average. For Tesla, what does it look like? Well, let me bring down the EMAs, put up the SMAs like we have for all the other charts. There we go. So for Tesla right now, hanging up above the 20 and the 50 at the moment. Had a lot of downward pressure, didn't quite get that cross. There's the most recent pop off of the earnings, and a Trump won election could be very bullish for Tesla. Keep that in mind as the elections tomorrow, as those election results come out. Wednesday could be a very big day for Tesla, and then Thursday with the conclusion of the Fed meeting, the interest rate decision, Jerome Powell talking, if we get Goldilocks scenario type speech, that could also be a very good thing for Tesla as well. If it's a Kamala won presidency, a Harris won presidency, whatever you want to say, we then don't necessarily have as clear of a signal for Tesla, and so we would be watchful for that, for what exactly could happen. It could actually be some downward pressure. So just some thoughts there, not a political thing, but a stock catalyst thing as I talk about it here on this channel. Stay away from top politics unless they relate to the finances that we have on here. So over to Bitcoin. Where's Bitcoin? Bitcoin is currently rocking on its 20-period moving average and just kind of sitting there waiting to see what happens. We'll see if we get that upward pressure off of this, seeing if we can pop back up to new all-time highs. We almost got there on Tuesday of last week. Now we actually have the RSI cooling a little bit, getting away from the overbought situation that we find ourselves in. So now we have a higher platform to jump off of. We could still be on that run to new all-time highs, taking us up to the 84.5. I think that we could most definitely reach within the next 6 to 12 months from where we're at right now. Now, mind you, that could happen very, very soon within that first 6 months, very early, or maybe as late as the 12 months as I've projected out from here, unless we see some sort of crypto winter or something that happens along the lines for that. Now, mind you, Bitcoin's become a lot of things to a lot of people. I don't think that we see this price drop down to the lows that we had back in 2022. I do think that, anything could happen in terms of pulling back from where it is now, taking us back down to the 50s-ish range. I'd be surprised to see those 40s, but I think those set up for other incredible opportunities. And because I mentioned TMF, I'll toss this up here for you before I close this thing out for the day. So when we look at TMF, down below the 20, down below the 50, down below the 200, the bearish signs. RSI still showing bearish, getting a nice pop today. I think that this is that hedge that we see from the uncertainty from the equities market, from the securities that we have, but with the stock market, that bonds are benefiting a little bit from that upcoming presidential election that's happening. Plus, we have the Fed meeting also coming this week that hopefully we hear some dovish talk from Jerome Powell, maybe leading to some further rate cuts. We're going to have to see, but I will say that the Fed is walking on a nice edge right now for how exactly they talk about this, that they don't cause overheating at all, but it's also something they don't cause overcooling. It's like they have to thread the needle on this one in order to really stick the soft landing. And right now, They have the labor market kind of barking at their door saying, hey guys, we made a lot of downward revisions. We had a pretty terrible non-farm payrolls come out. Yeah, the unemployment rate still stuck at 4.1%, but guys, what exactly are you going to do about this? And I think the Fed is probably going to stay the course on this one. I think they're going to stick with the 25 basis points like the bond market's saying. So I think it's a very reasonable position for the Fed to come out and for Jerome Powell to say that inflation continues to cool while labor market is still showing some signs of softening, but expectedly so. And that's exactly why they're pulling back on the rates that they are. So that's probably the commentary that we're going to get, generally speaking, from Jerome Powell on Thursday. Guys, if you want to see my buys and sells, you want to see my technicals before they hit YouTube, you can do it using the link down in the description for the Patreon. Just click that link, sign up, head on over to the Discord, and there you'll find everything. And I have a lot more stuff coming that way over the next few weeks here, probably another couple of months. I have a very long-term evolution coming along, LTE, coming its way to Discord, to the channel itself, to the Dr. Stock brand that I'm building out. And I would absolutely love to have you over there as part of that community as it continues to grow and scale. And then guys, if you want to learn to do technical analysis and get access to a wonderful trading strategy that just time and time again proves itself, the bread recipe as coined by Stockmo himself, one of my close personal friends. You guys can do that through the link for Stockmo Academy. Click on that link, sign up using the code word DOCTOR for a massive discount, and you get access to a learning community that goes along with it. All the technicals broken down into easy to digest pieces set up by educational professionals, vetted by me, who has 17 years also in education and my doctorate in education. Really, I've gone through the entire course. It is so clean, concise, and well put together. I vouch for it. I advertise here for it on my channel. So go ahead and check that out. Make sure that you use the code word DOCTOR when you do. Thanks for watching, guys. I am Dr. Stock, Doctor of Education. Remember, my friends, that learning is earning. We'll see you in the next video.